welcome. This is How Chandra Does Food, and I'm Chandra, and today we are making a gluten-free twist bread, and I'm starting to add all my ingredients into my mixer. I've got tapioca starch, millet flour, buckwheat flour, sugar, instant yeast, baking powder, xanthan gum, and salt. This is a recipe I found on my favorite current website, the Loopy Whisk, and I will link it down below. There is a psyllium husk mixture here in this bowl that is just psyllium husk mixed with some warm water. It gels very quickly. I'm whisking in this 1 egg and 1 egg yolk, and then I will be able to add this to my dry ingredients. This is actually the second time I have made this recipe, which means it's really good because I don't make too many things twice. I just love trying new things all the time. But this I've made twice, and maybe the reason I've made it twice is I can make it a little different. So the recipe online is for a sun-dried tomato twist bread, which sounds delicious, but the first time I made it, I only had pesto, so I used that and it was really good. And this time I'm going to use a spiced plum jam that I made last year. Opened it for someone who wanted to try it. It was kind of a big jar and nobody really wants to eat it besides me. So I put it in this bread and then it was just fine. Everybody liked it just fine. So although there's no gluten that needs to be developed, it is good to whisk or beat this batter really well because it makes for a nice and smooth dough. It's much easier to work with if it's chilled, but also not extremely difficult, not prohibitively difficult if it's not chilled. This night I was making it for dinner. I didn't have time to chill it. An hour in the refrigerator is all you would need, but I'm just using a lot of olive oil to keep it from sticking too much. And I prefer to use olive oil over flour because less flour makes for a more tender dough. So I'm just using olive oil whenever it gets kind of sticky, and it works out fine. Although in the future, if I have the time, I would definitely chill, really any dough. It's just so much easier to work with. This is my favorite kitchen tool, and I'm going to use it to help me roll this up, especially since it is a warm and thus a little bit stickier dough. This can help me roll it, and it's really just not a very fussy type of bread because of all those layers you're going to get, and then you're going to twist it around, and I think it would come out really well kind of no matter how this process goes. I think this would be a fun way to make cinnamon rolls too, because it reminds me of cinnamon rolls the way this is rolled up and layered, and then just the cutting part is different, but that would be pretty neat as well. Here is the fun part. I started to do this with my bench scraper there, but it was really mashing the bread more than cutting it. So I ended up using the serrated knife. I don't remember what I did the first time. I probably also did the same thing and ended up with the serrated knife. So I cut it all the way through to the counter, and then I'm going to turn these so that the cut edge is facing up, and then I will just twist them together, like cross them over each other and roll it all into a little disc that I can put into my pie pan in the background there. Can you see why, if you don't have this tool, you should have it? It's so useful. So now I'm just kind of turning some of these layers up so that they can be better seen, and I'll cover this with some oiled plastic wrap so that it doesn't stick. and let it sit for an hour to an hour and a half, just until it's doubled in size. It will end up filling up the pan really nicely. And then I did save the egg white from my 1 egg yolk so that I can use that to brush the top and not have to like get out a whole another egg just for that. It'll still make a nice shine. It won't have as much color, but I don't really care about that. And then this will bake at 350 for about half an hour. I start checking after half an hour, and I just check with a little toothpick, just like you would a quick bread, to see if that comes out clean and it gets nicely browned. Oh, it's so yummy. Now, if you've seen a lot of my other videos, you know I really like sourdough. And I'm really just starting to play around with gluten-free bread. And what I ultimately would like to do is convert these things to sourdough. Like, this would be a great sourdough project. I would just add in some of my sourdough starter, my gluten-free version, and it would just, everything takes longer. So it's nice to have yeast as an option, but the nutrient availability is so great in sourdough that what I'm saying is you should look for this bread in a sourdough version in the future, and probably a different filling. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.